Hey guys, what's up? It's Samantha, and today I'm going to be memory keeping and talking about what I read for the week of August 10th through the 16th. I decided to do something a little different for this spread, and I didn't really pull in foil, so I just used the black numbers from SPC. I kept this very simple, lots of white space. This kit has really pretty green and neutral colors in it, and I wanted to keep it very zen, very chill, peaceful. And I did pull in a couple of silver foiled items like the month at the top left corner and a quote overlay that I put in the sidebar. But besides that, didn't use foil and just kept it simple and very clean. I actually really like how this turned out. I don't do spreads without foil very often, so kind of feels like a bit of a throwback. I don't know. It's so weird because now I just do everything so shiny and so foiled all the time, and you know, for a long time there was no foil. So I just, kept it simple for myself. I did read 3 books this week, and 2 of them were once again rereads. But the first book that I read was How Rory Thorne Destroyed the Multiverse by Eason, and I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This is kind of a mashup, I would say, of Sleeping Beauty and the Mirror Visitor Quartet by Christelle Dabo, and I really enjoyed it. It's very quirky, and it's marketed as adult, but I would say it rides the line between YA and adult sci-fi fantasy. I think this would be a good series if you're someone who's looking to get into adult sci-fi or fantasy to check out. It's very quirky and a lot of fun, and I like the feminist take on the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale. We follow a princess who has been cursed to always know when she's being lied to, and it definitely does some very interesting things with that curse, and she is kind of sold off in a political marriage to another corporate entity. There's the kingdoms are all kind of different corporate geopolitical space station things out in space. It's a very different kind of sci-fi fantasy world, and it was just original. It was funny, it was clever, it was weird, and I liked both the print and the audiobook. I alternated back and forth. I actually think I'm going to reread this again before the end of the year. I have the sequel, but I've read so much between then and now. I really regret not immediately jumping into my arc of the sequel because I am fuzzy on some of the details already. So I talked earlier in my previous video about how I need to be better about not having to reread stuff so much, but I let too much time pass, and I definitely want to reread. It was a pretty short book, if I'm remembering correctly. At least I think the audiobook was fairly short, so it shouldn't be a problem to reread and then jump into the sequel. And then the next book I read was a reread of what is probably my favorite, more recent YA fantasy series, The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. This was still a 5 out of 5 stars. I was kind of afraid to reread this because I adored this so much last year, and I was afraid that I would maybe think less of it, especially because I've been reading so much more adult fantasy, and I love this series so much. We follow our main character, Fee, who is a crow cast witch. So basically in this book, there are all these different castes, and in the caste system, the ruling class are the phoenixes, and then at the very bottom are the crows, and there is a plague called the Sinner's Plague that is, kind of periodically sweeps across the nation, and the crows are the only caste that seem to be immune to it. So the crows are kind of the givers of mercy. They show up and they will kill and burn plague victims before it spreads and consumes an entire village. And they are treated as like, they're treated very, very poorly by everyone, and they're constantly just moving from place to place. They're like roving bands of crows, but each caste system has like their own different kind of magic, and the crow witches don't have any magic of their own, but using teeth or bones from other castes, like, they can utilize each caste's power as long as they have. Primarily, they use teeth, but it's implied that they can use bones too. It's just harder to get a hold of bones, but they, like milk teeth. When teeth fall out, they collect teeth, and then they pay crows with teeth sometimes when crows come to, take care of plague victims. And it's just such an original magic system. I really like that Fee isn't all powerful. She is still learning her magic. She messes up sometimes. She is still, trying to come into her own. And I like that she's not this overpowerful, can do anything type of YA fantasy protagonist. She definitely goofs up and has a lot to learn, and it's just so original and creative, and I love everything about this series so much. The characters are just wonderful, and the world is wonderful, and everything about this is wonderful. And if there is one book that I can convince you to pick up, I would love for more people to read The Merciful Crow. I feel like it's not really talked about, and it's definitely an underhyped book. I just don't ever hear anyone talking about it, but it is one of my darlings. I love it so much, and just read it, okay? Just go read it. So the last book I read this week was Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. This book is trash, but I'm a raccoon. This is like 5 out of 5 trash panda seal of approval. I love this book. I guess spoiler alert for upcoming video. I hated the sequel. I don't think she planned anything, and it was a very unnecessary book. But I really love the first book in this series. It's stupid. It's like the dumbest book of all time, but it's my kind of trash. And, we're all entitled to love our own trash. Like, we're all entitled to love trash from time to time. I read a lot of very quality literature. Is this quality? No. Do I love the heck out of it? Yeah. It's like a fun, steamy, like YA bordering on new adult fantasy. We follow a main character who's a witch. There's a forced marriage trope where she is forced to marry a guy who's a witch hunter, and like angst ensues. It's kind of like a Slytherin Hufflepuff relationship sort of thing, and she's very like bawdy and not very proper, and he's like a very religious, pious, innocent boy, and I love that dynamic. It's stupid, it's trash, I know, I love it. I understand why people don't like it, but it's my trash, so, I'm entitled to it. In terms of what I did this week that was not reading, I was basically in a terrible mood the entire time because I was still in my lupus flare. Played a lot of Animal Crossing and slept, and I did start my big giant sticker reorganization project on Sunday when I didn't know how big it was going to be. And also on Friday, I got my shipment of fall candles in from Bath & Body Works, and a bunch of them were shattered, which I've never had happen before, but I had 4 or 5 broken candles and broken glass went everywhere, and it was a thing, and I luckily was able to get them all either replaced or refunded if they had sold out of certain scents, but it happens. I ordered quite a few candles, so it ended up being fine, but I really like how the spread turned out. I haven't done a non-foiled spread in quite some time, and I feel like it's just very zen, like the white space and all of the soothing green tones, and like I wasn't very zen this week, but it just feels very zen looking at it all filled out. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out the books I talked about or any of the shops I used, I'll have them all down below in the description, as well as links to my Goodreads and my Instagram. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye, guys.